I'm going to leave about 40 thousandths down the center to grind to. I want this edge to come to a pretty keen point before it bevels in to make the cutting edge. So set this to 105, 1/4 inch stock. So then we just bring it down. Alright, we have our lines on that. So we're going to need to strike them up here because we're going to come up with a false edge. I'm going to bring in the false edge somewhere back, about here. The false edge won't be ground so much as it's going to be draw filed. This tang is going to be mildly tapered, but I want a lot of weight back here to offset the weight we have going forward. And this is going to be our tapered tang. Not much at all. Your eye will see it, and I don't know if your brain will register it, but it'll come down the side of this and end up looking pretty nice. Again, we don't want to reduce the weight back here too much at all. So yeah, just a hint of a tapered tang on the back side. Just a little bit of style. The guard is going to kind of come up and fit on a taper right here, and then it'll be pinned in place, but we have to have this outer dimension to finish before we even start to finish this. It's going to be completely hand finished. Now I'll cut the slot, the original slot over on the mill, and get it close, and then we're going to have to enlarge the hole with files, and then where the through hole is, it's going to have to taper in to lock this taper right here. I want a good tight lockup, but it is going to be strictly hand work. A slow process, but I think it's going to give us the best results. I don't want to notch this at all to kind of receive the guard as you do on other knives. This is just going to have to be a good hand fit, and that's what we're going to do. That's a lot of steel to remove. You just have to take your time, get a little fatigued, just lay it down, come back to it. Not everything can be done over there on the belt grinder. This area here where we break down into our bevel, to get that nice and straight, I'll just come over here just with a hard back, in this case just some aluminum stock. And all I'm doing is getting this area right here to get that line nice and straight and even symmetrical with the other side. And if you try to do it on the belt grinder, if you do it right the first time, you're lucky. But just about on all my knives, I'll come over here and do that part by hand just so I can stop right where I want to and not go too much further, because if you take it too far, then you're turning the knife over and you're doing the other side to match, and you can walk it down until you get a little too close to your guard. So it is prudent to stop and do some hand work. And when I get this well defined, then I can go back over to the belt grinder to a finer grip belt, and that gives me a positive stop. You don't have to worry about grinding really much further because this will stop you. But yeah, that's just a step I take. This is just to slim down the spine of the knife. We're not going to a cutting edge by any means, But this is just to slim down the spine of the knife to aid the knife in penetration. It's to help it with thrusting action. Keep your file strokes more longitudinal than this way. You won't get a rough sawtooth pattern. You'll end up with something that doesn't take very long at all to dress down. But again, you just have to watch both sides as you go and going for that symmetry. The key is just keeping your file chalked and keeping it clean when it loads up. Okay, got it. Got the false edge formed, and I got the rest of the knife up to a 320 grit grind, and so now I'm ready to go ahead and taper my tang. And like I said before, it's going to be a very gentle taper. And it's just a matter of bluing, fitting, light filing until she just slips in with a little bit of effort. By the time we heat treat and then knock the heat treat scale down, we're going to lose about a half a thou, and that will just fit right in. And then we can get this thing finished. So we have this one. This is going to be its companion knife. They are both ready to go into the furnace for heat treatment. And the only difference, the only thing I did differently than what was originally planned is I've gone with stainless guards over the brass. I chose brass because it was the only 3/4 by 3/4 stock I had for this knife, but the more I think about it, the more I like the look of the polished stainless steel for these guards. It's going to fit up really nicely. Now we're still in the taper down here. Once we get up, it is flat the whole length of this, and yeah, I think it's going to finish up pretty nicely with the curly maple handles. Be glad to get this set out of the way. Got other things to do. About the biggest one I can make in this furnace, which is big enough. Now we've lowered our furnace temperature, so I'm going to let that other one in there cook just a little bit longer. And meanwhile, she stayed straight, and that's the one part that is kind of nerve-wracking. If you do your grinds true, keep your blade symmetrical, and quench evenly as you go in. Don't go in at a slant. There's that scale coming off. Your knife should stay straight. Straight in. And then move it. Just keep washing it into new oil. It's a quick cooling, but we're not going down too cold because this is about 180-degree oil or so. Keep it down there for about 15 seconds. You just don't want to linger a long time between here and here. Alright, a lot of the oil still washed off of that, and every now and again I have to run this oil through a strainer. Get this stuff off there. See, it comes off pretty easily. Okay, off, off. Wipe this one clean. They're both going over into the drawer. And yeah, we have a straight blade on that one too. That is always encouraging. It's not the end of the world if they do warp. You just have to heat them, straighten them, and do this all over again. So it's real nice when you can get it done on the first try. Yes, sir. Okay, and after heat treatment, what we're shooting for is a purplish blue color. There are hints of straw, indicating we've kept them a little on the hard side for edge holding. Still plenty of toughness and or flexibility in that steel. So we're ready to do a very light regrind and get these things polished up. Get those guards soldered on and get them finished. Good session of heat treatment.